101 review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest praying for death and fighting purpose. One of his advocacy, none other than Mr. John Stewart Hill.
Thank you for letting me to come on your show today.
Welcome, Mr. John. I'm Book 101 Review. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Well, I am the founder of the Good Contractors List. It started here in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas, and we are the first resource ever to guarantee the work of every contractor on our list. So we provide a $25,000 guarantee to the homeowner that if they use a contractor that's on our list and they don't do the job right, that we will pay to fix it. And so it's just a next level place that protects people from the shady contractors that are out there.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Mr. John. Thank you. And, and today let's talk about the heart of a watchman, the prophetic story behind your heart, transplant, and life's second mission. So, the watchman metaphor, before you diagnose us, what did being a watchman mean to you? What is the definition by completely rewritten through this journey?
Someone who protects, someone who stands for truth, someone who stands on the wall and makes sure that things are the way they're supposed to be. And that's really what I've been doing with the Good Contractors List. Is I've been the one guy that stood in the gap between homeowners and contractors, and really made it a place that's safe for both, because good contractors want to be separated from the bad ones, and homeowners want a safe place that they can go where they're never taken advantage of. And so I got to play that part for the last 14 years here in Dallas Fort Worth, and we are now going national with this, and it's a national movement of good contractors who do the right thing and who we feel confident and have enough faith in that we can back them with a guarantee.
You describe a prophetic story. There are signs, intuitions, or even a dreams before you diagnose us that, in retrospect, felt like a preparation for what was to come.
Yes, absolutely. In 2011, I had a massive heart attack. And prior to this day, when I had the heart attack, I'd been praying for 2 months that God would just take me from the planet. I looked back on my life and I saw nothing but disappointment. I saw nothing but regret. Three failed marriages, no career, no education. There wasn't anything in my past that ever said I would have a future. And so my future looked really bleak to me. And I'd been praying that God would take me. But I ended up in the hospital. At the time, it was during a freeze and that happened in Dallas, Fort Worth. And so there was ice all over the road. And I had started coughing. I was outside smoking a cigarette, and I started coughing, and then I started coughing up fluid, and then the next thing you know, I was coughing up blood. And so I did not know that it had anything to do with my heart. I thought it was because I was smoking and because it was cold outside, and so I had no idea exactly where I was on that day, but as far as physically, but I did make my way into the hospital, and they thought it was a pneumonia because of the fluid that was in my lungs. Later that night, the new doctor came on for the mid shift and started looking at things and says, "This just doesn't look like pneumonia to me," and that's what I'd been diagnosed as because of the fluid. And they did more tests and they found out that it was indeed my heart that had suffered a severe heart attack. This is like 2 a.m. in the morning. And they had me call my family back up. And at the time, I really didn't understand why they were doing that, because they had gotten the fluid off my lungs a little bit. I was able to breathe, but I overheard a conversation that was going on out in the hall, and the nurse asked the doctor, "Don't you have to get permission from the director to move him to ICU?" And the doctor's response was, not in this case, he's tombstone. So on that day, February 4th, 2011, I reached a crossroads. And as they were wheeling me to the ICU, I heard a very distinct and clear voice. It's a voice that I'd heard throughout my life, but I had a very roller coaster life with God. Sometimes I was really on target with Him, but then something would happen and I would fail, and I would just look and think that everything was wrong. And on my way to ICU, I heard this voice that just said, "Well, John, do you want to stay or do you want to go?" And I realized that He had put that in my hands. Do you want to stay or do you want to go? And so, like I said, it was a freeze, and so it was going to take the cardiologist an hour for him and his team to make it into the hospital to even do anything with me. And so I had a little bit of time, and I put a lot of thought into it. But there was this voice that just kept kind of rising above everything else, and it was saying, "If you decide to stay, I'll be with you, and I'll give you a purpose." And that just rang through me that I might actually have a purpose. And so I went to God and I said, "All right, I'd like to stay if that's okay with you, but I don't want to be the same man." I said, "I wanted to be remembered for doing something good. I wanted to live every day, not just be alive. And I want to touch as many people as I can the rest of the time on this earth." And I felt like God, with a really loud voice this time, said, "So be it." And so that was how everything started. Everything shifted that day, because even though my outward condition didn't change, I was still in the same job selling coupons. No career, no background, but my past was now dead. I really felt like I laid myself down that day, my old identity, and I clung to the one concept that God would be with me and that I would have a purpose going forward. And that's where I left the hospital.
Mm. So, Mr. John, the wait for an organ is an agonizing limbo. How do you navigate the tension between praying for a miracle and surrendering the medical process? What did you learn about faith in the waiting?
Well, the waiting was 12 years. I didn't get the transplant until 2022. So this was 2011 that I had the heart attack in February, and it was July 30th of 2022 that I got the heart transplant. So it was a walk of faith from the moment that I walked out of the hospital. As soon as I came out of the hospital, I'd had a massive heart attack. Uh, I had between 40 and 50% scar tissue on my heart. They had to put in a pacemaker defibrillator because my heart wouldn't squeeze in rhythm. So they had to put a pacemaker so that it would squeeze normally. And for 12 years, I lived on a quarter of what a normal heart works at. So I had to learn to pace myself. I had to learn to listen to what my body was saying, and I had to just listen to what God was saying, because I had no clue what what was going to happen. So when God gave me this idea, I was selling coupons um, to start my own business with no money, no education, no background. I'd never even managed anybody before. So when I heard that in my spirit, that that's something I was needing to do, man, I lived every day by faith. There was no other option for me. I didn't have any other answers. All I knew is He was going to be with me, and there was going to be a purpose. And it didn't happen for another 12 years before I actually got the opportunity to have my heart replaced. But what was kind of amazing through this whole thing is that every time I would go in to get tests done, and they would give me angiograms and echocardiograms and all kinds of stuff, and they would be like, "How are you able to even get out of bed? Your heart function is so low, and but you're able to do too much, so I can't even put you on the transplant list." So in 22, I ended up getting the flu, and had the first in 12 years where I actually died. And it was for just for a moment, because I did have a pacemaker, But I was getting up to go. I was watching TV, and I got up to go to the kitchen. And when I stood up, I just blacked out. And when I woke up, I was just kind of shaking, and I was laying on my couch because I'd fallen back down, and my defibrillator went off and shocked me back to life. I, it was at that time that I went back to the hospital, called the doc, my cardiologist, and said, here's what happened. He goes, that's all we've been waiting for. We'll get you on this list right now. And really, the wait from the time that I got on the list till I had the heart transplant was only 22 days. So it
Wow.
happened very quickly.
Mhm.
I used that old heart all the way to the end.
Yes, there's a really miracle, and God gave you purpose for something for the second life, Mr. John. Walk us through the physical and emotional landscape of receiving the call that heart was available. What was the first thought that was not about yourself?
No, the first thing that I did was I prayed for a miracle for the person who was dying, because they had let me know that the person was not had not passed yet, but there was no hope. That they were going to be pulling the plug. They didn't let me know the specifics then. I didn't find that out too much later. But apparently there was the gentleman had a brain aneurysm. He was a young man that had a brain aneurysm and had been brain dead for several days, and his family was really trying and hoping. And so, no, my first reaction was, God, please create a miracle for whoever this person is. I don't want someone to die for me, you know. Um, and so it was very emotional. And later I got to meet the donor family uh, after the fact, and it just man, it's the most emotional thing I ever had to go through, because I know that they would much rather have their son, and be
Mhm.
holding him. And when I went to visit them, they were so gracious. They just wrapped their arms around me and said, "Thank you so much, for letting us know who you are," and just welcomed me and my wife with open arms. And I brought a stethoscope so that they could hear his heartbeat. And man, you want to talk about being shaken to your core to know that they're listening to their son's heartbeat in my chest.
Mhm. Mhm.
It was an amazing moment, uh, very emotional for all of us. But I just said, I promise you, I'll spend the rest of my life honoring him. I'll do whatever I can to make sure that I do the good things in life that is deserving of this heart. And
Mhm.
so that's how I live every day of my life, man. It's been like that since before the heart, but this was even more important. Do you mind if I tell you
Yes.
what their names
Go
were?
ahead. Go ahead.
This is one of the things that probably just kind of solidified the fact that I believe God did save me for a purpose. Their last name was Wackel, or is Wackel, Wachal, and I looked it up, and it's Bohemian for watchman.
Mm.
Wackel is Bohemian for watchman, and the young man's name was Christian. His first name was Christian. So I quite literally have the heart of Christian watchman. So I knew that God had put me in this place to protect people, to be the voice of truth in an industry that was dark. And so when that happened, it was just like everything that I'd been working for, everything that I felt like I was following God, just kind of came into place. Like, no, this is bigger than you, John. And this story is what has to get out. And I feel like it is a kingdom story. I feel like it's something that when people they don't have hope, that they could hear something like this and know that God does have a better plan for them if they're willing to just submit themselves.
Mr. John, as finding purpose for your second life, what are your short term and long term goals?
Well, we just this last year, uh, another amazing story, but a I found my CEO and the crew of executives that's going to help take this from a regional uh, product, which was just Dallas Fort Worth for a long time, to now a national product. So I was unable to even go on shows like yours because I couldn't really tell the story of the good contractors list because it was so limited to where there were actual contractors who could join. And so my current goal right now is to just is tell the story as many times as possible, to get the story out there and to bring contractors from around the nation together in a movement to protect homeowners. And I see this as a national and maybe even international story at some point, how God can take even the most broken and weak vessels of the world to do some great things. We are all capable of it.
Mm, yes, and good luck to your goals, Mr. John. And looking forward for more success. And what would be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you, finding purpose?
Um, the best advice I could give is that you need to live in the moment. You need to live in the now, because the more you look back at your past and you look at all your failures, that day that I was praying for death, I all I could see was three failed marriages, no career, no hope. And when I look forward into the future, all I could think of was I'm just going to continue to disappoint people. But what I found about after this really near brush with death was that I can be happy right now in my own space. In the space that I'm taking up right now, I can choose to be happy. I can choose to uh, understand that I have a purpose, and I can hold on to that knowing that God knows where I'm going. And every day I just take that step. And I so my my suggestion is get out of the past, stop looking at the future, and just get in the now and be thankful where you are for what you have. And you'd be amazed at how gratitude and being thankful for what you have right now can lead to greater things.
Well, thank you for that advice, Mr. John. And can you please recommend a book or books to influence your journey?
Well, of course, the Bible has always been my favorite book. It's the journey that built me spiritually. But as far as books that you can go buy that's by other authors, I really enjoyed Atomic Habits. Was a great book that helped me understand that just making small choices every day um, would help benefit. And then another one, which just recently has become a really great book for me. Now that I'm trying to work with other executives, and it's not just the founder, and it's more less of a mom and pop, is a book called Rocket Fuel, and it talks about how the relationship between a visionary founder and an integrator, and so it helps a lot with relationships whenever you're building a business.
Yes, and thank you for that recommended book, Mr. John. And will you be my guest on Bible Verses 101 and share your Bible verse in on my podcast? And
Yeah,
yes, please do come over.
will do.
What did you learn about receiving love and care that you would want every caregiver and supporter to know?
That everybody's capable of this. You might find that your identity is doesn't quite mesh, with being a caring person. But the truth of the matter is, your flesh identity can be brought to an end, and that's where this one scripture that I hold on to is that we have been crucified with Christ. It's no longer we that live, no longer I that lives, but it's Christ who lives in me, and I live by faith in the one who died for me and who loves me. And so that scripture, Galatians 2:20, is is available for everybody. Our flesh identity can die. That's what happened on that deathbed table. Was I chose to live, but by choosing to live, I chose to die to the old man, to the way that I was, to the old identity. And we can take each and every moment, and we can take on the identity of Christ, which is in truth and in love, and we can walk that out with his help.
Yes, definitely. Everyone can do it. How have your most important relationships changed? What is it been like for loved ones to relate you not just a survivor, but as a person with prophetic repurposed life?
I think that, well, whenever I had the heart attack, and one of the reasons I was praying for death is I didn't see much future as far as family goes and relationships go. I had three failed marriages. I was living with my girlfriend at the time, and I had two daughters who had mostly grown. They had gotten past their teenage years, and was just kind of hoping that things would go well. But now, after this change in my life, my relationships are really strong. We're very close to all of our kids. My girlfriend at the time and I got married. We've been married for now 14 years, and just amazing relationships. Everyone can see how God has changed things, how God has made things better. And when I thought I would have no family, now I not only have my kids who love me, but we now have seven grandchildren. And my favorite title of all, beyond founder or any of those other things that people call me, is Pawpaw. I love being a Pawpaw. And so
Yes.
relationships are amazing, and my family is whole, and just I'm just so appreciative.
Mr. John, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season. Abstract Poetry in second season, and Mob Book 101 Review in fifth season too. Comedy 101 in second season, and Mob Food 101 in sixth season as well. Geography 101 Love Letters, Movie 101 Review, Music 101 our fourth season, Science 101, Sex 101 second season, and My Baby Podcast, Mental Health 101. Bible Verses 101, and of course, Law 101 and Entrepreneurship 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. John, as you look ahead, what does the next chapter of your mission look like, and what mark on the world does this watchman's heart now compel you to make?
Well, it's finally moving beyond Dallas Fort Worth. I've been on radio and TV out here locally for quite a while, and now I see that I'm going to be able to be on national programs, and so that's the next thing, is that I feel like God's moving me out of my comfort zone, and I really never really liked being in front of a camera. I never felt like I was a great speaker, and so now that's the next step. God's moving me out of my comfort zone, and I'm going to go represent the good contractors list across the nation through public relations, through books. I just finished my book on collective authority, and it's how our community, how through community we can change industries and we can protect people. So
Yes, protect people indeed and find your purpose, like Mr. John Stewart Hill. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world.
thank you, sir.
So, Mr. John, can you explain to me the phrase or the phrases on your website? Good contractors list, finding trusted local contractors has never been easier.
Well, our contractors go through a very deep FBI level background check. So we know everything they've been associated with. We have gotten we not only do that, but we interview them. We look at them online. We do a lot of different things to make sure that we have the right contractors that we can back with a $25,000 guarantee. And if you go to the goodcontractorslist.com, if you're a homeowner and know a contractor that is honest, that does things right, that deserves to be separated from the bad guys, this is where you want to send him. The goodcontractorslist.com. If you're a good contractor listening, I would love to talk with you about creating a safe contractor community anywhere in the nation. It could be a small town, a big city, it doesn't matter. We have contractors from every field of home service that we back with our $25,000 guarantee, and we help you create what we call a community driven referral network so that you can pay a low price rather than having to pay per lead. You'll get hot referrals from people who want quality. And that's it.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. John Stewart Hill. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your business, advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now, Mr. John?
Yes. So, like I just said, with homeowners and contractors, this is what I consider a movement. We need everyone involved if we're going to make sure that everyone is protected. And what's amazing about bringing good people together and announcing them as a collective authority, someone who, as a collective, as a group of people, say the same thing, bring people to the same website. The bad guys don't even want to get near it because they don't want the light shined on them. Good contractors like responsibility, they like to be held accountable, and they love to be together. So help us bring your community together, help us bring good contractors to your neck of the woods.
Yes, indeed. People, again, please support Mr. John Stewart Hill because if you support him for sure, you will help him to find his purpose in life. So, Mr. John, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me, Daniel. Sure appreciate it.
What do you call people? See you soon.